In my own world, I talk to you like this. I tell you really, in the modern world, how it is. I'm Dilwyn Jones. I'm from an agricultural background originally. Orcup Galway, which is towards Abergavenny way. Come from a very, very traditional farming background. Left home at 15 and worked in this trade since.
Tell us about your shop here, because you're right smack bang in the middle of Hereford, right opposite the town hall, but it's not your average shop, is it?
It's a bit of a dinosaur, really, in a modern world, but it works. I've made it work.
It's a hardware shop. You've got a bit of everything here, and a lot of it seems to be new, but a lot of it is second-hand, and you don't normally see that in a hardware shop with so much second-hand stuff. I mean, for example, these pails here, they could be second-hand. Some of the bill hooks, things like that, are second-hand. A lot of these, whatever they are, pulleys, runners and things, shackles maybe, that seems to be second-hand. Yeah. I'd say you probably got more second-hand than you have brand new. Is that true?
Not really, no. I think what it amounts to is the tools, from me being a kid, has always been a big interest. And we got a massive blacksmithing college where they love the old hammers. I used to use a hacker and was a show edger at 12. Hence, I got a bit of a museum of them. So the people using those traditionally today have mainly died. But people collect them.
Is there a blacksmithing college? That's quite an interesting institution around here.
It is. Biggest in Europe. Hereford College is the biggest in Europe. They come from Scandinavia, all over the place. And the old hammers and that are of a higher quality. And basically, they use them to make templates and moulds. So, believe it or not, as boring as they look at the bottom of the floor there are young end users on the hammers. Whereas some of the stuff, the people using them have died, which means they're obsolete.
Now, looking up at the ceiling, you've got all sorts here. You've got metal pails, you've got old, looks like copper kettles, copper saucepans, and round to the left-hand side, lots of lamps. Now, a lot of those, they're not electric, or maybe are they oil or hurricane lamps?
No. I mean, 90% of the people using paraffin heaters commercially, that's gone. But there's an interest because they've been in the family, people want glasses, they want wicks for them. And there is a rural area around here where they won't set the world on fire turnover-wise, but this is the place to come. So, yeah, we do okay with the bits.
Most of your customers, are they commercial or just walk-in off the street?
I suppose because I've established it as a headache shop with all the bits that nobody else has got, I think it's a bit like a sweet shop. I think people come in here because they know they'll always get the item they want, and B, there's also the holiday trip side of it where they just like looking round. You'll be amazed how many people return, and it's not just old, it's young as well. And a lot of them will make a destiny. They've got to buy something here on either an anniversary or a set interval when they come down. If you drop this shop in certain parts of the country, the answer is it would never get off the ground. But Hereford is still a rural listed buildings. It's changing, yes, the younger people, but all the same, if somebody's got a house and they're doing cosmetic bits, they'd rather buy it off the shelf and see what it is than the internet. So small items, there is still a market if you can do other things to make it work.
Wilkinsons, you surely can't compete with them.
Well, you're wrong there. Basically, Wilkinson is the Tesco of the world, the same as B&Q. They put the same shop in London's Hereford. If I had this shop outside B&Q, believe it or not, it would be far better with the locksmithing, the key cutting, than your. I work long hours. I help anybody out and I'm interested. But if somebody upsets me, I can be awkward, but I can be helpful. So what I'm saying, about 47 years in retail, and I set this up. If I said to you, ask me about a car or anything like that, I'm as dull as a bat. Really. But because I spent 47 years in this and I'm off the most humble, primitive background, left home at 15 and rebuilt Rayburn's and learned this traditionally because I used it, bill hooks, hackers, that commercially in this country has finished years ago. If we didn't have the ironmongery and locks, the shop would have gone bust before I opened the doors 32 years ago. So what I'm trying to get at is, to give you an insight into it if you're interested, I used to work for Philip Morris's, which was trading from 1845 right up to 1984, and this would have been all the way through the country. The DIYs did not affect the hardware shop as such one bit. When Tesco's opened, they killed the corner shop dead overnight. But what happened was, and I knew this when I set this up 32 years ago, and that is why the shop is still here. This shop, if I didn't own it, didn't run it myself, and we didn't have the expertise on the listed building, we would be gone before I opened it up. No matter how knowledgeable, it wouldn't work. So what it amounts to, for 150 years, Philip Morris is, and everywhere up and down the country, I've got a museum on it, had an agricultural ironmonger. Now, assuming I'm telling you the truth, if you had a video here every day, you'll see why I can be helpful and rude. Not because I want to be rude.
But you're your own boss.
No, that isn't a... If I'm in here every day and I've never had a holiday and I'm up at 5 o'clock, and if you come in to me and you're a Pole or a Czech, you say, excuse me, I've got a problem with this, I like a little patch on my bucket, no problem. You're a customer, 50 pence, put it on, real grateful. If somebody comes in front of you and they haven't lived through the years, and this is outdated. This is where the personality, it's no good me arguing with you about 2 screws and you don't want 10. I'll never come in here again, mate. I'm your customer. No, but that is what you get. That is the rudeness. Now, what I'm saying to you is, Philip Morris is for 150 years. Philip Morris was an agricultural ironmonger established from 1845 right to 1984. They had 36 staff selling the best ironmongers in the country. Galvanised tubes, 6-foot Stilsons, billocks, rivets, acres. Now, assuming I'm telling you the truth, I left home off a primitive farm using billocks and acres. I was started there at 15. And we were the best customer in the country selling hop hooks round. The best. Right hand and left hand. I used to order 144 right hand and 30 in my time.
Is that like a billock, a hop hook?
Yeah, a hop hook is like a grass hook. But you'll be interested on this if you... So anyway, what happened was, assuming I'm telling you the truth, when the 2 Ronnies went into the hardware shop, he was a very clever bloke. Because, if I'm telling you the truth, he had a counter. So what happened was, all the council local authorities, I'll have 10 record planes, number 4, please. Book them out to Kingston School. Big money. Kids' school. Kinley School. I want a record number 4 plane, please. Made him a carpenter. So for 150 years, their trade bookings and apprenticeships bought premium tools, e.g. I was on £5 a week in 1970, a spade was £18, and we sold loads. 4 times my wages. Pots and pans, aluminium covered in dust about the creosote. Old farmer's wife cooked the grub, it was functional, no frills. 95% of the stuff was trade, the public never paid. That's why he did the act about the washers and so that was true. Can you imagine husband sending the wife in saying, I want some bolts, my husband's pulling the fence together. So the first time you'll say it, right, what thickness? Well, show me some. So the attitude of going down the back was negative, because whatever you brought up, she'd go, oh, there's different lengths and thicknesses there. Do you know what I mean? So when he picked hold of that, he was a very clever bloke. He used to go into a hardware shop, because I've studied all this in Bradford and Avon, and he used to watch, and he used to take notes, and he used to ask if he did, and they said yes. The reason why this is here, I spent all my life here, I'm not married, and underneath, I got to be a bit nuts. But in theory, as a businessman, this is not the way to run a shop. You think I'm joking, do you? But anyway, going away only quickly, Philip Morris's now is across the way. Well, for 150 years, end of the year, 95% of the stuff sold, so they could coot around with the public with the 2 washers or argue about it didn't matter, because the bookings was always there. Maggie Thatcher finished the apprenticeships in 1984, bigger than the internet or anything else has happened in this country. All the bookings stopped. All the lads that were leaving school, roofing, plumbing, there was imported stuff before, but all this identity of branded stuff literally changed within 4 or 5 months. They were flat out with the public, coming in, arguing about 2 screws, I'll never use them, can you cut this off, oh, can I have that part off that lock, I want to buy it all. All that knowledge, flat out, and the branded stuff was not selling. They were going to close the shop, and they owe 150 years of trade in mind. In the middle, all right, they're through the butter market, you'll see them now. But this is what saved them. They were very, very concerned, and they were going to close the shop. Well, you would when you 150 years making big money, best ironmongers in the country. All of a sudden, the booking stopped, and you're in the high street, don't forget. And all of a sudden, the public are swarming in there. Can you have my husband have this? Can you cut it off? Oh, I do want 10 of those. So all this knowledge, and the branded kit was not selling. So what happened was, they called in consultants. And they were said, well, I've said to you today, that was 32 years ago. They said, look, I've been watching him. He'd been going out the back, getting a Whitworth bolt. One of the customer says, "Oh, you don't want 10 of those." He spent 20 minutes on that, and he's put 10 pence in a till. So the thing was, it was outdated then. So they said, what you need to do is the coloured Argos and Rayburn started to come out. And don't forget, the cook was the worst line in the shop. The consultants were watching this for 3 months. And they said to him, look, there is no future in all the knowledge you're giving with those bolts and those screws. You aren't contributing to selling the tools and the bulk that pays the wages. What you need to do is you either close the shop, you get rid of all that branded tools and sell them off at cost in the next couple of weeks. Put an imported range of tools in the corner. Don't make the nuts, bolts and screws and all this labour intensive. Put them in limited bags and make people make up their own mind. Not from to queue up, waiting, I've been waiting 10 minutes and fretting about 2 washers, because it said you're giving too much advice, but you're generating nothing. So it wasn't rocket science. They said, what you need to do is, the colour Rayburns were coming out, get the cookware, that aluminium, get rid of it, start to put £100 pots coloured to match the Argos, and don't get involved with the public too much. No, seriously, that was 32 years ago. So they turned around and they were reluctant to do this. Well, think about it. If you come in, off the high street today and you didn't know me and you were like they do, and they got a tie and a shirt and they're talking to you, I don't suppose you know, mate, I might as well ask, I'm looking for a screw about that length, right? I had a lot of conversation, you're listening to it and you've heard it all before, so you go out the back and you get to, right, sir, there you are, there's 60 people, but I'm the customer, mate, I don't need that, I only want one. So after all that knowledge, you're getting a war. Now, whether the shopkeeper's right or wrong, there's a confrontation then of interest, and the customer say, well, I am the customer, and I shall say, well, I don't begrudge you that. If you buy something else, sir, I'll give you that. So won't come in here again. So I've upset a customer, and he's going to say, funny stood in there, he wouldn't sell me one screw, I won't go in there again. I walk away and say, it's outdated, totally outdated. But I do all this because the building trade and the builders, when they set that up, they put £100 pots in there, put females in there. If somebody's playing with a phone and a female goes in, she doesn't need any brains. She likes buying that. She puts it down here. I'll be back next week. Good shop back. Nobody's into it at all. Big money. The guy who's dealing head on about tuppence is having a verbal war, which is no good in a modern high street. So what I'm saying is, if that was 32 years ago, I set this up 6 months later, lived in a caravan and bought this, sold my house, I owned the shop, and I knew there was no future as an ironmonger then. But don't forget, I'm a locksmith. I know the area, Rayburns and what have you. So then when I opened this tools have always been an interest to me. I told you a spade was £18. I was on £5 a week. Do you know how much a spade's retailing now, 47 years on? 20% VAT. A fiver. No, I'm in the back for the older person only because of my background. I source these for little old ladies. A hardwood handle in the modern world they'll stop making just now is £10.28. I'm in the back for an hour and a half's work, charging a fiver plus VAT, £6. I've overpriced myself and made no money. Minimum wage for you would be £8 an hour. I'd have to charge you at 12 quid, the handle, and if I was renting the shop, would anybody bring it in? No. So the answer is, it's finished. So I do all this side of it as an interest, but the woman in front of you has just spent 33 quid on black fittings for a listed building. Easy. She come in, I told it all about, and they chuck the screws in. But what I'm saying to you is, now 32 years have moved on, there isn't a shop like this in the centre of town. So do you know what they're doing? Think about it. I've always been cheap on the keys, half the price, and I've always captured the market. The builders will have a count with Juicens. They pull out here, have a lock with 40 keys. Our mortgage keys are a fiver, Yale's a 3. Good business. Think about it. Timpsons, all the time. 800 depots, younger generation. Double the money at 9 or 10 quid on those. A fiver on a Yale. One in the market, one there. Now what's happened is the council now has strangled the town. No parking areas. All the places outside. Builder thinks, I'm not going to park it time now. He gets the lock with his door at Juicen, gives it the teacher, she claims the money back, goes straight in there. I'm cutting less keys than ever. All the customers, apart from the ones that want proper stuff like the ironmongery now, they want a brumhead. Young, under 30. We got all the yard brubs under the sun. That era's dying. They go into Tesco's, pick a plastic Addis, one totally wrong thing make you do. I've got the full range. Older people are dying. Knackered. 26 butchers in this town. 3 left now. They aren't relying on the people coming to them, not because they're no good. They're doing pig roast barbecues because the high street is knackered and the meat's good and the young people know it. But
it's just all supermarkets.
No, but it isn't the supermarkets doing it.
That's what's killed the butchers,
no,
surely.
No, not really. No, I disagree with that. I'm off a farm myself. If you want to see a town badly managed, look at this lot. No, this is terribly badly managed. I mean, why am I talking to you like this in depth? And I've spent 47 years and I've seen, and I'm saying to you, Hereford, lowest wages in the country. All right? I could tell you all about Somerset and all, even though I spend a lot of time, I do a lot of reading, I get the Western Daily Press, and I could tell you economics as well. I've checked the wages over there. You've got 10 people on over there in that offices. The council, the general high nogs of the council, and to do with the planning in different areas all around the council. You've got about 9 of them on in excess of 80 to 150,000 a year in the lowest. And if you look at the way they've managed this town, absolutely abysmal. Do you know why I say that? Lowest wages in the country. If I've worked in town and I've seen the demise of it, and it's not the demise, you've got Boomers, Heineken, Sun Valley, Wiggins, very level plateau, no big manufacturing industry. You also got a lot of Poles and Czechs that are working here, which means they're working on land. So all the barrel of the wages from Ross, Hereford, all that is a very level playing field. This, I opened this, don't forget, 32 years ago. You couldn't cut for the butter market any day of the week, okay? Council owned it was then, they've just sold it recently. All right, the butter market, indoor butter market. Haven't put a lick in the paint, spend no money. Built all these out-of-town areas. When I opened this 32 years ago, the coaches used to pull all out here, nowhere for them to go. One place having coffee on a Sunday, and I used to say to the councillors when they were on about building this development, which is about to collapse, which is at its sell-by date, used to come in here and they were in, and the 3 councillors were in it on the meetings only, very small-minded. They knackered it 30-odd years ago partly. So I said, why are you building that for multiples in there? Cardiff, Cheltenham have got it, Hereford's on a limb. It ain't going to work. Oh, it will, we're going to get C&A and pay them. I said, won't. Why don't you, I said, get a subsidised cafeteria, cider museum, Hereford cattle, cater for what you've got, low wages, tourist, and a coach park, subsidised with a roof on. Now we'll get C&A, we'll get all the big names in there, we'll really do well. What do? Don't forget, no area for the coaches to park, no coffee shop open on a Sunday. So what happens? They build it with the multinationals, pay C&A in there, 18 months, C&A are still losing money, they pull out. They've progressively built outside town. They've stuck coffee shops here everywhere in the mess. They've got no facility for the coaches. So they're going to Worcester, they're going to Monmouth, they're going to Aber, they're going to Ledbury. They're bypassing it because there's no air. So you've got coffee wagons everywhere. All the traditional shops of any size have gone out of business. They've charged arm and a leg for parking. They've got traffic wardens hounding them on a Sunday. Yeah, but the end result is the butter market's been sold because they're always not working because they've built all these places outside. Nobody's going to get a pound of bananas. They got a girl from Birmingham setting up stall here 3 times a week. A hell of us taking the money back there. Well, everything that they've done, if you looked at the farmers' market here, I went yesterday afternoon after working in the morning down Abergavenny because I used to live in between there. They had a food festival. And if you saw it, there was 600 to 700 cars on the playing fields and the streets full of it. You want to see the shambles here. There's nothing on bank holidays. Nothing on the river. That restaurant there has changed hands 5 times in the last 3 years. So the reason this works is, in an ordinary town, this would not have got off the ground. And anywhere up and down the country, they've all gone like this. But I know that. But I knew that when I started it. But think about it. Even though I run it old side, I guarantee you now, I could tell you, I've steered this completely different anywhere else. And the reason why this works is, our stock is about 99.5 availability. You won't catch us out. Now, it seems incredible seeing it all here. I spend hours, and it's ordered well in advance, and it goes elsewhere, and the locks and the keys, and they always know we've got it. So I've built up the image, because I haven't done a lifestyle outside. I'm not married, and I spend all my time here. But in real terms of a business employing young lads, muddling around with all advice and knowledge, it's a non-goer. Really. It's been for years. So, yeah, I am interested in it, but the town itself, to be honest with you, is finished. And if you told me where you come from, I could tell you probably the Ironmongers that you used to have there as well.
Oh, well, Stroud.
Yeah, well, you had, I'll tell you what, you used to have Butts, the builders merchants, which got taken over now. Yeah. Butt and Son, they were quite a good one. You also got, see, Stroud, you're in a good area there. Now, towards the Cotswolds, you see, and getting around there is room for an agriculture ironmonger, not a DIY. This would be no good year, selling power tools and paint and be the cheapest in town. You'd be knackered. There's another one that was the other side of Stroud that has gone recently. It's a bit further on. It's Bruton more.
Well, I mean, I also work in Bristol quite a bit as well.
You used to have Patterson's there.
Yeah.
You had Noise.
I don't remember that.
You had Noise. Yeah, Patterson's was the big one. Bristol down deep. There again, Bristol should honour a good agriculture. But Philip Morris is my old place. If you go in there now, they got... It's like Harrods. It's a beautiful store. You're quickly, Tony. If this one's interest you, you're all up. Do you know what that is?
Mine.
Do you know what that is?
That is... No.
Oh, you disappointed me. Do you know what that is?
No. What are they for?
Yeah, hang on. I don't...
It's for beating something, isn't it? What are they for, these? Panel beating, I'm guessing, no?
They're lead tools for beating lead on listed buildings.
Oh, really?
They're actually ligma, which is a really hard wood, which means that no matter how much you smash it, it'll never splinter. It's knotted. They used to use it on the axles of carts.
Good God.
Yeah,
Amazing.
they are. Look. This works because I make it work, but in the real world of overheads and what have you, you'd never get a shop like that.
You wouldn't be able to do it unless you'd bought it yourself, would you?
Do you know what? 95% of the turnover that keeps the shop open is ironmongery locks. Even though we're busy on this, it is in the real
You've got
terms.
them all there.
No, in the real terms of stock terms, like your B&Qs, and you put two in a bag, nobody knows it, but it works. I realise that, and I knew that all the time.
And you know what? I would come all the way out here to spend my money here rather than at B&Q.
But you say that, you see, I know that. If I said to you, though, would you agree if you come here for a knob screw or I put a grub screw, which I do in door knobs, and I repair it, and it's no big deal. If I said to you, though, the checks and the poles are like we were in the 60s. They haven't got no money, and do you know what? It's a pleasure to serve them. The poles and the checks, seriously, if you go over there, they are actually like we were in the 60s.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt about it. I've never advertised, never needed to. A lot of stock tied up all my life. It does work, but I'm not saying it's the formula for anybody, young couple starting a shop up.
How can people find you?
Hereford's not big. It's rural. I would have said, if I've been in retail trade 47 years, word of mouth, I never advertise, never needed to advertise, but this takes all my time. I don't get a life outside.
I would suggest people just go follow the sat-nav or whatever you have these days, or your road map, your old Phillips road map, your AA road map to Hereford. Find the town hall, cross the road, and there you are.
Yeah, that's right. I can still sell them a sign if they want it. Yeah.
You're listening to dialectradio.co.uk, your local community radio run by volunteers. Log on to our website at dialectradio.co.uk to find out more.